Good morning, YouTube. Is it morning? Yes, it's still morning. Happy Raw Day, the day of the sun. Happy Raw Day. So, I was looking actually for the Bible verse, Our Father, and instead, Psalms 21 came up. Okay, Psalms 21. It says, The king shall joy in thy strength, O Lord, and in thy salvation how greatly shall he rejoice. Thou hast given him his heart's desire, and hast not withholden the request of his lips. For thou preventest him with the blessings of goodness. Thou settest a crown of pure gold on his head. He asked life of thee, and thou gavest it him, even length of days, forever and ever. His glory is great in thy salvation. Honor and majesty hast thou laid upon him. For thou hast made him most blessed forever. Thou hast made him exceeding glad with thy countenance. For the king trusteth in the Lord, and through the mercy of the Most High he shall not be moved. Thine hand shall find out all thine enemies. Thy right hand shall find out all those that hate thee. Thy right hand shall find out those that hate thee. Thou shalt make them as a fiery oven in the time of thine anger. The Lord shall swallow them up in his wrath, and the fire shall devour them. Their fruit shalt thou destroy from the earth, and their seed from among the children of men. For they intended evil against thee. They imagined a mischievous device, which they are not able to perform. Therefore shalt thou make them turn their back, when thou shalt make ready thine arrows upon thy strings against the face of them. Be thou exalted, Lord, in thine own strength. So will we sing and praise thy power. Psalms 21 is the psalm, I'm going to call it the Psalm of Answered Prayers. Psalms 21 is where God decides to come through for you in your time of need. Psalms 21 was on my way to finding the prayer Our Father because it is Sunday. I am a little bit different. I talk about Mother a lot more because she's with me a lot more. Well, actually, that's not true. It's not that she's with me a lot more. It's not it at all. I'm going to read it one more time because actually, maybe I'll read it at the end. No, I want to read it again. When I saw this, when I found this, I was very happy about this. This is the Psalm of Answered Prayers. The king shall find joy in thy strength, O Lord, and in thy salvation how greatly shall he rejoice. Thou hast given him his heart's desire, and hast not withholden the request of his lips. For thou preventest him with the blessings of goodness. Thou settest a crown of pure gold on his head. He asked life of thee, and thou gavest it him, even length of days forever and ever. His glory is great in thy salvation. Honor and majesty hast thou laid upon him. His For thou hast made him most blessed forever. Thou hast made him exceedingly glad with thy countenance, with his presence. Countenance is like with God's presence. For the king trusteth in the Lord, and through the mercy of the Most High he shall not be moved. Thine hand shall find out all thine enemies. Thy right hand shall find out those that hate thee. Thou shalt make them as a fiery oven in the time of thine anger. The Lord shall swallow them up in his wrath, and the fire shall devour them. Their fruit shalt thou destroy from the earth, and their seed from among the children of men. For they intended evil against thee. They imagined a mischievous device which they are not able to perform. Therefore shalt thou make them turn their back, when thou shalt make ready thine arrows upon thy strings against the face of them. Be thou exalted, Lord, in thine own strength. So will we sing and praise thy power. This was on my way to finding Our Father, and this just froze me. So every time I get something, it's usually the theme of what I want to talk about, but it's their direct message in their words, according to what they want to communicate. It is their message. More than anything, we want to talk about answered prayers. And sometimes I talk about things like prayer, almost like I think of prayer and alchemy to be the same thing, because when you pray, alchemy is the part where you control yourself. Alchemy is the part where you manipulate yourself first in order to manipulate energy around you through your right hand, not the left. We tend to think some people who are grabbed very early because of their spiritual strength and their abilities and their connections. Your real soul family, your real spiritual family grants you gifts that are yours either way. Strengths that are yours. You have attributes that are like the same as your higher self. Everybody's higher self is not, well, obviously they're different, but they're not of the same, I don't like the word rank, but it's not of the same like caliber. So if you meet somebody who their higher self is something that is very important spiritually, then that person is going to be more valuable to you to pull on your side than, or into your family, or tie them into your family than like a regular person, if you will. Please take what I'm saying with like understanding, because I don't like my words to be mixed or enmeshed with nonsense, twisted around to mean something that it's not. There's nothing wrong with being any kind of person. So when people tend to meet people we see it on our level as people who have spiritual gifts. So people describe being psychic and all of that stuff. They describe that as spiritual gifts. So we see the manifestation of their higher self, and we see them only as gifts that they have. But they have the gifts because of their life path, because of their purpose, because of what they're supposed to do. You don't just have gifts for any reason. Nobody just gets gifts to be here. You get gifts because of the dangers that are going to be lurking and because of the missions that you have to perform. So you're given the tools to do what you're supposed to do. That's why everybody gets something different. Some people get all. The more gifts you have, the more impressive the talents you have, are just an indication of what your purpose is, what you're supposed to do. It's not really for like comparing yourself to somebody else one way or the other. So there are people who have natural abilities, and these abilities are withheld from them until they pass their initiation, until they ascend, until they walk through, and they can be used responsibly, and then it can be released to them. And then it can be released to them. So as you walk through your spiritual journey, you're going to get yourself to a point. I don't know if it happens with everybody. I don't know when it happens for, I know it must happen different times, but I can't say for certain myself if it happens for everyone. But certain people get to a point where they cannot move further in the energy that they're in. They will be blocked there, stagnated there. And every day they remain there, the pressure becomes harder. The situations become, it forces you out of it. It literally forces you out of it. You cannot remain in certain energy. So once you get to that point where your path is blocked, you are forced to transform as your circumstances change. If you are walking a left-hand path, if you felt that you were the highest thing in the universe, if you took possession of yourself, fought your own battles, if you did whatever you liked without direction, you had no guidance, there does come a point where you realize that you cannot move forward on your own, in your own understanding. And in those moments, you have no choice but to cry upwards and to ask, even if you walked a left path, because this path is so blocked that any energy that you're with in the left cannot assist. They can't do anything for you. As you use your left hand, all it does is it weaves a web around you. So sometimes they let you continue until you find yourself in the position where you need to call. Some people can come without being called because they can see the signs in front of them and they can heed it. Some people are never allowed to take that path. Because of their assignment, they're never allowed to go into a left-hand path ever. They're blocked every time. So I know for like people like myself, from the time I came into awareness, I couldn't do things like lie. Like if I lied as a kid, I'd feel so guilty. I'd go back, I'd cry, I'd admit what I said. I'd admit what I did because I had to release my conscience. My conscience was beating down on me. It just got to a point where I would maybe say by like 12, I just came to the conclusion. I was like, listen, I don't have good luck when it comes to certain lifestyles. It just doesn't work. If I try to do something, I will immediately be caught, and there's no point. I try not to, even when I could take 2, 3, 4 steps in one direction. It's like I'm watching other people live this lifestyle for forever, and it's like my spirit's not agreeing to it. It's like you got to get out of it. It's like it shakes you. You can't do this. And then it's like I can't do it. So I've just always known my luck is only in a light path. So I've figured that out. I don't bother. I try to take as little few risks as possible. It makes me uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable. There are people who can do it for years and they will not be caught because it's just not that is their lane, that is their path. And then there's times where they take that path long enough and then God's like, okay, that's enough. You have to stop now. You cannot move forward here because the only way through here, anywhere that you take that's not the direction you have to go, is calamity. Sometimes spirit will show, most times spirit will show you, if you continue down this path, where are you going to end up? And you just have to say, it's not because you're perfect. No one is perfect. It's not because anybody's like a do-gooder, like you want to do good, but it's not that some people don't want to take a chance, that not that they don't want to try things that are bad. It's just that they won't let you. They will not let you do it comfortably. So if you do it, it's uncomfortable and you know you're not supposed to, and you know like any moment now, they're going to snatch me up. So When you are getting to that point, or when you're at that point where you're blocked, the choices are one. There's not multiple choice. There's one choice. It's very clear. It's the only path forward. You will have things that perhaps hurdles that you can't, all the hurdles there you can't jump, to be honest, by yourself. You start realizing that. Once you get here, it's usually because, or it's either at the point, or you've just come out of the point of going through such a traumatic period that went past the point that you were crying for it to end. You were crying for this to end within the first month to 3, and then now you're years deep in it. You are paying off your karmic debt. You are paying for everything that you did. It is all coming back, and you're meeting yourself in everyone, in everything. Nothing is working. Things are blocked. You cannot believe what is going on. You're meeting the end of yourself. You're facing a spiritual death, because what you're experiencing is so bad that you understand that you can never ever go down this path ever again. You understand what it feels like to be on the receiving end of your mentality, how you treat other people, even how you treat yourself. If you meet yourself on this path, say you were a very kind person, very loving person, the path will be difficult, but you will meet very kind and loving people along the way. People that help you, people that take compassion on you, and you'll feel God's grace throughout. If you're going through an ascension and you haven't been a great person, you're going to meet yourself. Everybody gets in measure to encourage them in the direction that they're supposed to go. So if you were already kind, it's an encouragement that after you get out of here, you have to be kind, because your kindness assists other people whose struggles that you don't know. You don't know what they were going through, but you will now remember that when you were going through things, somebody was there for you. And so you're encouraged in that behavior. In the same way, if you were horrible to people, you start realizing, I cannot be like that, because I remember when I was going through this, no one was there for me, or people were even more horrible to me, or they stomped down on me. This was horrible. I cannot live this way. So in this way, because of the ascension, the lessons are so tough because they don't want a repeat of the behavior. You never get to the point where you get tempted to go back to that, because you've learned. Like for me, not having boundaries, I've overlearned that lesson. I've overlearned it. And when the universe teaches a lesson in this way, it continues to teach it even after. It continues to present opportunities that are serious even after the ascension is done, because they are very insistent on making sure that you know one. They are very insistent on making sure that you know and that you understand why. Not just what you should do, but why you should do it, why you should not do it. So I want to talk about answered prayers. When you call out in a situation where you should have gone down completely, when you call out and your prayers are answered, you find yourself, if you have that prayer answered immediately, like in a short space of time, especially when the prayer is, these are heartfelt prayers. So when the prayer is from a place of desperation, but it's very genuine, and the prayer is leading in a direction that it has to lead, it's taking you in a place that it has to take you. Once it's answered, it is the beginning of walking a new path for yourself. It's the beginning of you recognizing prayer is real. This was not something that you had to do yourself. It wasn't something you had to strategize yourself. You didn't have to devise it yourself. It's just something that, actually, it's shocking. you start realizing how powerful this thing is. If you have prayers that are not answered perfectly, prayers that take time, prayers that you need to repeat, you start analyzing the process of prayer. You start realizing, well, what worked this time versus what didn't work that time. You start thinking about your vibration and your own self. What energy are you in? If you pray about something and what you're asking for is something that is from your ego or something that is not very nice and it doesn't happen, because if you're used to prayers being answered and then a particular prayer is not answered, you start analyzing why, or you might ask why am I not getting this prayer answered? Once you get to the point where you start recognizing that really prayer works in tandem, not just with your intention, so you want to have pure intentions, but also with who you are. You can be a bad person with good intentions, but the strongest prayers are always from good people, people who are righteous. Good people who are good from the inside with good intentions, these prayers get answered. Your prayers are heard, they're answered very quickly. So you start understanding always that you need to control your vibration, you need to control yourself. It's not to say, because we are human beings, we fluctuate at times. Being just only in a vibration that is 100% too high all the time, it attracts the dangerous energies for sure. It attracts energies that want to eat off of that light, that want to leech off of you. So you start understanding how to manage your vibration, that your energy is very important. If it's an initiation, then it's spiritual, and energies come after you, and you start understanding the world around you in a spiritual and energetic way. And so you start understanding, how do I manage myself? When people come up against demonic energies, energies like Baal, energies like whatever else that they serve, not energies that I would consider, anything crazy. These energies are really like training wheel energies. They are energies that when you fight against them, you are learning to manage yourself. You're learning to master yourself, because what these energies do is they take advantage of a person's lower nature. These energies need to access what is already there. So they're going to go into the parts of you that have parts that are not very nice, not very pure, not very clean, so that they can find their way in. And when they find their way in, they want to lodge in there. So they want to get you in energy that makes you stay in there. We all have a lower nature, all of us. All of us. That's something that I found out on the onset of gang stalking, or my ascension, I should say. You have to decide what path you take. And you need balance. You can't just only go in one direction. But the direction that requires your left, your right hand does it, meaning that you do not take action yourself, because you don't have all the information. You don't have the ability to judge the situation as is. This is one of the lessons that you have to learn. So initiation, truly, when it boils down to it, is about self-mastery. It's about yourself. So this is why initiation feels so difficult. It is easy to judge other people. It is easy to ask other people to do this or to do that. It's not so easy to do this for yourself. It's not so easy to govern yourself. Change yourself. Once you learn to govern your own vibration, once you learn to control your own self, then you can learn alchemy, and you can learn to be a creator of your reality, or a someone who adjusts your reality. Essentially, you're given a blank check by the universe, and only what is meant to be on your path is blessed. Only what is meant to be a part of your life journey is blessed. Everything outside of that, once you get to the North Node, you are on tight missions. It's no longer a life that you lived before where everything you kind of directed yourself. It's not self-directed. In the North Node is where you find your destiny. This is a path that has to be properly guided and properly walked in. We get wobbly in our vibration in the beginning. In the beginning, it's always, I have a good day, I have a good moment, I slip back. I have a good day, I have a good moment, I slip back. I'm in the right vibration, I'm praying, I'm walking the path, I slip back. And that wobbliness is just a fight for your soul. You're experiencing a war for your soul. Once the wobbliness begins, the war for your soul has already begun, which means the war for your soul is already won. And the lower energies that are there understand that, and they don't want to let go. So what they do is they try to hang on by any means necessary. Even if it is an uncomfortable situation for them, they fight. This is what they do. But even in that fight, even in that war, once you've decided what side you want to be on, you cling to the side you want to be on. You fight for the side that you want to be on. You stay on the side that you're on the side that you want to be on. But what is most important is you make the declaration. You give permission for God to win this battle on your behalf, because you don't have the full strength to fight this on your own. You need help. Once you give your soul to God, once you give yourself to your right hand self, once you ask for the light to come in, they handle the fight on your behalf. You give them the authority to go on your behalf. All matters concerning you concern God. Everything concerning you concerns God. God will block from you what is not supposed to be there or what wants to block you. Every enemy against you is an enemy of God directly. Anything that blocks what concerns you blocks God directly. The mother energy is different. I say to people, while mother is here asking you for your attention, give it, please. Open to her, talk to her, deal with her kindly, agree with her, so Father does not have to come, because he comes out for war. He doesn't come out to do her job. He comes out to extinguish problems. This is the safest place to be, is under his protection. When he comes to destroy completely. He comes to leave nothing. He comes to burn kingdoms down to the ground. There is nothing left when he is done. He doesn't mince words. Even with us as his children he loves, he doesn't mince words. Even we are afraid of him. He's unconcerned about what people have to say, because the same entities that will mislead you and misguide you are terrified. They are terrified of this same energy. They're only strong in mouth when God is not there, because he's patient and he waits diligently for people to make the correct decision, because no father enjoys destroying. But when he does, there is no mercy whatsoever, because you were given ample time. God does not like when people call themselves their own God, because they are not their own God, because everything you do is at God's mercy. Everything you do is because God allows it. You either If you don't accept that as a fact beforehand, you will be made to accept that by the evidence in your life. So there's no going around it. When you are in your wobbly state where two energies are tugging at you, and so you have, say, a good day, and then by the night it falls in, and then you wake up again in that devil energy, and you're having that wobble effect. The lessons here are focused. So you have one focused lesson after the other. You might have one lesson that has to do with anger, and then you get that under control, and then the next lesson might have to do with rage. Sorry, not rage, but self-control, let's say. The next lesson might have to do with not reacting to things. There are so many lessons on the way. They're very focused. And what has to happen is each one must remove itself as a barrier for you to step into the energy of your higher self. So it is a process. It becomes easier and easier, or the lessons get easier and easier. The journey becomes easier and easier as you manage your vibration more and you learn lessons. And some things you have to commit to. Some things are a matter of counting the days. For a lot of us, we count the days. Day 1 was good. Day 2, I fell. Day 3 was great. Day 4, I fell. Until you get to the point where you're like, I've had 2 days in a row. I'm so proud of myself. I've had 3 days in a row. You ask for help as you need. You ask for help. People think that the things that you pray for are necessarily materials, like, you know, I want money, I want this, I want that. People going through spiritual journeys are asking for self-control, patience, guidance, understanding in all things, wisdom in all things, because you start realizing what has been blocking you. I don't understand people, so I need understanding. From a space of understanding, you feel like your eyes just opened up. You'll be able to have more compassion for other people. You'll be able to forgive things that people do not understand. They're like, this is so horrible. How can you forgive that? Because I have understanding of it now. So these lessons become very focused. And you are granted patience in your learning because God always has understood. I remember I told this story before in the beginning of gang stalking. I kept asking, like, how can God forgive this? God can't like people. And the verse that came to me is, I love man because I understand man. And only when I started my spiritual journey, like I said, and I repeat this story all the time, where Kanye said, I have questions of Jesus because when I needed Jesus, he wasn't there. Only in that time then did I understand how he can live the way that he can live, and I not judge it because I understand his journey. I understand what happened to him. So it's the same way. God understands your journey. God understands what happened to you. God understands that you're well-intentioned and well-meaning and you're trying your best. It's not for lack of trying. And so you're never going to be punished for slipping up. You just have to continue to pick yourself back up, because if you do 100 days on the same journey, you are going to see progress no matter what. You're going to see yourself have 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row, 4 days in a row, and you, as badly as you want it, you start assessing, what is causing me to slip up every step of this way? Is it because I pay attention to this? Is it because I do this? Is it because I don't do that? And as you find yourself recognizing what it is that you didn't do very well, then you find yourself understanding how to pick yourself up and avoid those things that pull you in the wrong direction. So for me, I had to break bad habits, watching things that would trigger me, participating in things that sometimes I knew for a fact as I began, I'm like, no, this is gonna make me have a bad day, and doing it anyway. So I had to break habits and break cycles in order to move forward. And every time you have to move forward, there's always gonna be some sort of blockage somewhere that wants to block you from the thing that you have to do. As you learn your new energy, you're going to learn your higher self. You're going to learn who your higher self is, who spiritually you align with, because we all have spiritual alignment with something. Sometimes you just have to learn them, and sometimes it's shocking to you. Sometimes I think for a lot of us, there is a point where you have to adjust to who your higher self is, because you didn't see yourself in that light at all. You never saw yourself as that person. I remember listening to a reading and it said, "Why are we listening to Set?" And I thought, oh, this person is getting advice from another energy, not the energy they think. And I came all the way to realize that they were getting advice from Set. In situations like where you have to come to terms with who you were or who you are spiritually, it's very, it puts you in disbelief. And sometimes it takes a while to believe what you're seeing, what you're hearing. You're encouraged to step into that energy. You're encouraged to, and not just encouraged, but you will step into that energy. That is the energy that comes to meet you on your spirit team. That is your primary spirit guide. So my primary spirit guide is one person, but there's still a team. And so when your spirit guide comes to collect you, you start realizing that you guys have similar traits, but in the positive, in the upright. You guys have similar traits. You start realizing that you cannot operate out of doubt or fear, that you have to look at your life and take logical, decisive action. Action that's based on logic, looking at the situation for what it is, not for what you want it to be, for what it is, assessing your losses, assessing the damage, using balance in your approach, measuring your decisions before you make them, and making decisions that are going to be in your highest good, not just decisions out of, you can't decide, you can't make moves out of doubting and fearing, especially when you can see in front of you what makes sense and what doesn't. If you are in godlike, king-like energy, because Set was a king, pharaoh energy, then you do not have need for energies that are beneath you. You do not have need for energies that should have never had their hands on you in the first place. These energies are just looking to block your ancestors. So when people say make peace with your ancestors, they're not necessarily just talking about the dead for everybody. They may be talking about the energy of kings, the energy, like higher energy, energies of queens, energies of just higher ranking energies. If you do not make peace with your ancestors and your higher self, you are delaying yourself on your journey, and you're blocking your own blessings, and you're blocking everything that is for you. As you shed skin, it is such a painful process to shed your skin that it makes you lose confidence in yourself because of where you end up. You feel like you ended up back at zero. Zero is a place without knowledge. Zero is a place without experience. Zero is a place without... See, it's like this. Imagine if a multi-millionaire, let's say, because I sometimes I go back to using money. If a multi-millionaire goes homeless, it is not the same as a regular person going homeless. Because a multi-millionaire, even though they lose everything, even though they lose everyone, they still understand. They have the ability to understand how the world works. They understand how the banking system works. They understand how money works. Their only job is to find themselves in the right room. They may not at the time have the right suit. They may not have enough money for the right car, but they have even the understanding that it would make sense to go rent something nice, rent a suit, rent a car. I know how to talk to the people when I get there. I know how to look like I belong in the room. I speak their language. I use their terminology. And so I fell on my face. I went bankrupt, but the next time I get back on my feet, I know not what to do. I know what not to do, and I know how to move forward, and I know how to pursue opportunities that are right for me. I'm not going to jeopardize myself anymore. I'm not gonna take unnecessary risks. I'm going to barricade myself. I'm going to learn. So when you're on this journey with the guidance that you have of your experience, on the spiritual journey, it's not just guidance of experience now, it's also spiritual guidance. It's guidance of your higher self and the energies that are meant to take you through. It's the energy of the guides that know the way, that know the path of where you're supposed to go, and they know how best to get there. They will put back into you the confidence that you lost. They will put back into you the faith that you lost in yourself, the way that these energies you've been carrying have reduced you. They will put back into you the strength to be yourself. When you're fighting your personal battles, in a way, you're almost fighting yourself. You're fighting the higher version of yourself. You're fighting against the universe, but not in a way where they need to humble you necessarily. Well, they do need to humble you, because we need to be humbled to realize we are not the strongest thing out there. We need to be humbled to realize we're not perfect. We don't know everything, and that's for all of us. And there's none of us that gets to skip that humbling. All of us get to a point where it's like, oh my gosh, I need help. I need to adhere to something bigger than me. So the fight is not necessarily just to humble you, but it is also to bring you to a point of understanding the path that you're on, how wrong this path is, and then to teach you the lessons that you need to learn that are going to bring you to a precipice. And when you jump off, you're going to have the ability to fly and not fall. It brings you to the part of the journey that you can no longer walk or crawl on your stomach or be small. You have to step into yourself. You're ready. You've learned everything that you need to learn, and it's time to soar. The purpose is to soar. You don't get there unless you have the ability to fly. So everything on that path, everything that you have to beat, it's not to weaken you, everything that you have to beat and that you've gone through, all of those things that you've gone through, they are the same resources that you're going to dig into when you get on the path that you're supposed to go. If you're supposed to be, if your life path is you're supposed to be the CEO of some Fortune 500 company, how can you get there from where you are now? You must face defeat. You must face being humbled. You must face being something shutting down, losing something, losing hope, and getting up again and again. You must face those things so that when you get where you have to go, you do not lose Fortune 500 companies through making decisions in the same way. You must learn to get over addictions, obsessions, obsessive behaviors. We all have them. We all have behaviors that work against us. So it is a humbling experience to see yourself in that way and in that light, but you have to stand up to it. You have to learn to not make plans that do not align with your desires. You plan for life, You do not plan for anything else. You plan for success. Yes, you might have, you never waste. I'm not saying, okay, there's a difference. So say for example, you might do something and you might say to yourself, I know for a fact I'm gonna win. And because you feel like you know for a fact you're gonna win, you're gonna just spend everything you have, roll the dice on things, pay for things that are not necessary because you're saying you're gonna win. But that is not the path of winning. The path of winning is being very careful. It's testing things out. It's measuring things before you try to launch fully into things. So because of that, because you're going to take that kind of path, you have to, yes, you're planning to win, but in the plan to win is also taking into consideration that you don't know when you're going to win. So you have to be more careful with yourself. It's like responsible decision making that is looking forward to success. Not, you definitely do not plan for failure. I mean, you put contingency plans, just in case plans in place, but you do not plan for failure. You do not plan for death. You do not plan for, and when I say death, I always never mean like physical, just physical passing away, but I'm talking about failure. I'm talking about things coming to an end. I'm talking about where there's no more life. You do not plan for death. And if you align with God, your Father is a God of the living, not a God of the dead. You start behaving in accordance to your desires, and from that place you watch your prayers answered. Whatever magic people are seeking, there is no magic stronger than prayer, because God can do anything. God can do everything, and we come to that conclusion very quickly. If there is no God, a person who says there's no God cannot worship the gods in the underworld, because that's still worship of gods. God is the highest God. You go direct. And it's not everybody that has the ability to go direct. So if you can go direct, you must go direct. Prayer is essentially the strongest magic that there is. Prayer can bring unity. Prayer can bring destruction. Prayer can tear things down. Prayer can build things up that are impossible for people to do. People go and study all kinds of magic and study all kinds of ways to do the same thing that God could do on our behalf, even quicker and safely, because God will know if this is something that you're supposed to have or not. Is this something that's going to trap you? Is this something that's going to come to an end for you? Prayer is miraculous. We have to remember that in our prayer, we don't need to chase money. We don't need to chase pentacles, that we can attract it. We do not need to chase it. We don't even need to chase cups, but we pray for cups. We pray for things that are going to bring emotional fulfillment, things that are going to bring emotional peace, things that are going to bring security and good feelings, because that puts you in a good vibration. And from a good vibration is where you can manifest. This is what we pray for. We do not waste our time and our energy on praying for the manifestation itself. We ask for the conditions that put us in a position where we can manifest it in ourselves. So it's the difference of saying, I want to pray for a house. Well, in order to get the house, you need to be in the vibration of one that can attract the house into their energy field. So your intention might be to get a house, but it could be even better to say, I would like to be the kind of person who can manifest very well. So what puts you in positions to manifest very well? Peace, not fighting, not waking up every day to animosity, being in the correct vibration, being out of devil energy, love, feeling loved, feeling supported, feeling that there are people for you, that the world is a safe place, that hope is here, that you can have confidence in your journey. These kind of feelings are a lot easier for you to handle every day, and this is a place where you can manifest without wobble. This is a place where you can bring about your personal desires without having tug of war in it. A minute it starts to appear and then it moves back and I gotta cling for it and it's difficult. If you ask for cups, you're asking for the vibration from which to create. You look at yourself, you look at, let's say, even children or animals that come from a safe home where they were loved, they were spoiled, they were catered to, they were protected. They are the ones that come up to people, they have the confidence to say hello to people, they're friendly, and they have an air about them. When you look at animals that are abused, when you look at animals that are, people are horrible to them, they're scared of people, they expect to be abused, they expect for things to go wrong with them. And so these are animals, sometimes when you rescue these animals, they're very fearful. Now there's different reasons why animals are like that. Sometimes maybe they're taken too young from the mother. Sometimes they just have, they're prone to anxiety, that's their personality. But I'm talking about specifically when animals come from abused homes, sometimes they're more aggressive. They have to defend themselves. If it's a dog, it bites, it attacks more. It doesn't like to be out in the open. It'll be in a corner where it likes to see all around it because it has suffered. Whereas an animal who's loved can come and sleep, fall right asleep in the middle of the room. So when you ask for an environment, when you ask for cups instead of asking for pentacles, what you're really asking for is, I want peace. I want to be loved. I want loving environments. I want to be appreciated. I want to be respected. I want to feel safe. I want people I don't have to question being around me. From that space, I wake up happy every day. I wake up in a good mood every day. I wake up feeling that there's hope every day. And then the only thing I have to ask myself is, well, what do I want to do with my day? What do I want to do with my year? What do I want to accomplish? So essentially, you're asking for fulfillment. As long as your vibration is going to be kept low, then you're always going to be overpowered. You're always going to be out of control of yourself because you're always going to be at the mercy of whatever mood that you're in. And I always say with moods, moods pass. Bad mood doesn't mean a bad day. Bad mood doesn't mean a bad day, doesn't mean a bad year, doesn't mean a bad life. So you have to look at your moods, you have to adjust to the fact that moods will come and go. You let them pass. Even if you're in a mood of not being in the highest vibration, you try to maintain your general vibration as a high vibration to maintain the things that you have. If you attract in a high vibration, you attract high vibrational things. If you pray for things in a right-hand way, you attract people who are concerned with cups, with spiritual fulfillment. Whether they know it or not, they are good people. They're in that energy. When you vibrate or you manifest things from a left-hand path or a low vibration, then you attract people who are more concerned with pentacles and they're more transactional. And so they can deal with you in a very ruthless manner. They can deal in a very unloving, inhumane way because both of you are vibrating at that same energy, like frequency, and that is what that brings. At a higher vibration, even if things don't go right, you're dealt with more compassion. It doesn't necessarily mean that people do not wobble in their vibration as problems come, they're jumping hurdles, they're facing blockages, they're facing difficulties, they're facing their own trials, they're learning their own lessons. It doesn't mean that they're not going to have their own wobble, but it just means that generally they're going to pull themselves back to a high vibration at all times. When you walk the right-hand path, you are protected by everything because the universe is everything. So it is the energy of the highest energy, the energy of the sun. You're protected by the energy of life itself. Nature agrees with you, the underworld agrees with you, heaven agrees with you, everything agrees with you. You are safe from every eventuality, and it doesn't mean that they're not hurdles. It means that they cannot touch you. So from a place of knowing that nothing can touch you, you can move forward. From a place of knowing that you are in agreement with the entire universe and the universe is on your side, you stop worrying. You just walk your path. You stop worrying about tomorrow, how you're going to do this, how you're going to get out of that, and you just walk your path. That is where you get confidence from. The confidence that all you have to control is yourself and your vibration, and you have a blank check from which to carry out your desires. Bring to life what you are inspired to bring to life, things that bring you fulfillment. So from that place you say, well, this is what I want. This is how I want to go about doing it. And if the energy doesn't agree with you, because sometimes the energy is like, there's an easier way than what you're doing, it leads you by itself. It leads you to every solution. It leads you out of the blockages without you having to try, without you having to navigate. It just leads you where it is that you have to go. There is never a need in this energy for any low vibrational feelings. You don't need jealousy, you don't need envy, you don't need anger, you don't need any of them, because you can have anything that you want that is aligning to the vibration of your God. Your gods become your higher self. Your gods become God the Father, God the Mother, and your spiritual family. It's not God in the same way that you think about God. Like, how do I say it? It's not in the way of like domineering or controlling. In order to be of God and around God and step into the power of God, carry God, you must be in a God-like vibration anyway. God does not want to lord over you. God wants to give you his and her vibration that you can correctly take your own life and move forward with it without anybody having to micromanage you, because you recognize how things work and you recognize the importance of doing things. You, from a place of outside, are going to say, well, the Christian life, let's say, it's boring. You can't sleep around, you can't drink, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's boring from the outside. But from the inside, you start realizing why you cannot do these things, why you cannot allow these portals to be open in you that allow for entry or attack of outside energies. There's no need to covet anything that is not yours. You will get your own. It will be properly aligned to you. It will be the correct alignment, and you will attract to you based on not just what is on your path to have, that for sure, but also what is on your path to have will be your desire. So it's like saying what you want wants you as well. You can drop all of that, and I call it Godfidence. I've heard that word before. You step into your Godfidence. From this place, you do not have to be loud and boisterous. It's not a matter of hiding yourself, but it's just a matter of you can be in public and just blend in quietly. You don't have to show yourself off. You don't have to be better than anyone or prove that you're better than anyone. People are gonna look at you and they're definitely gonna not see you for who you are. They're just gonna see a very quiet but confident person, and it's gonna be easy for people to say, like, who are you? Who is this person? And you know what? You don't need to show your hand. There's people who never need to know who you are. It's fine. And as you walk through, you're just gonna find yourself where it's time to reveal yourself, where it's appropriate to be known. Then you're gonna find yourself in those positions. You don't have to sit in distrust of people, but sometimes it's better to just see how people behave when they don't know who you are. See who you can trust without avoiding people. When you are walking in this energy, it is not always safe to be in your vessel, because you're going to feel like there's always trouble that is rising up against you, because there always is. So you need the spiritual protection. It's not a matter of just wanting it to have it. You need it. You need to be surrounded spiritually at all times. You're going to release your alignment, your proper alignment, to manifest properly with any emotion that is not high. So if you're manifesting from a place of insecurity, that's not something that you want, because what you actually want is to feel secure and safe, grounded and stable. You do not want to manifest out of a space of doubt, worry, or fear, because it blocks you, and it will block you from your manifestations. This is something that you have to practice. In the beginning, it feels like delusion. It feels like you're deluding yourself. Once you start getting traction in constantly being in alignment, adjusting yourself properly to where you want to go, once you start getting traction in that, it becomes so much of your normal vibration that when you shift out of it, it's very obvious, it's very apparent, and you're able to quickly shift back out. Give me a second. You're able to recognize the correct vibration that you're supposed to be in and quickly shift back into proper alignment. No, leave that, just bring it. You're able to shift back into proper alignment. Recognizing when you're out of alignment and getting yourself back under control is essential to this path, because you have the ability to carry different energy with you. You want to be very focused and disciplined always, and come back in alignment. From this place, you can become one who laughs in the face of danger, from a place of alignment, from a place of focus, from a place of self-control, from a place of having confidence in yourself, regaining your confidence, but in a good way, not in a devilish way. From this place, you become someone who can laugh in the face of danger. And sometimes the danger to you is unaware of what's inside of you. Danger is unaware of not just what's inside of you, but what is backing you. Whatever dangerous situations or people that you find yourself with, because you're literally carrying the energy of the universe with you. You're literally carrying the energy of creation with you. Angels are literally stars, literal stars, and their parents are the sun and the moon, and demonic energy is just fallen star energy, just fallen stars. I think it was Satan was the morning star. In comparison to our Father who shines in the day, there is no comparison to our Father, but we glisten at night under the hue of our mother. So you are literally the child of the sun and the moon. You need to resurrect yourself. It's time. You need to resurrect yourself. The self who battled death without fear. The self who battled who battled death without fear. The self who was laser focused. The self who is ready to redirect their loyalty into a place of where prosperity can be found. Redirect themselves into a place where love, hope, peace can be found. Release from your chains can be found. You have to put your faith, hope, and trust in the universe to not doubt your journey, to not doubt where it is that you have to go. Do not continue to align with the energy that brought you to this place. Now that you have your attention, make logical decisions. Fight it. You are still the person who has strength. Put it in the right place. It's time for strategic prayers. It's time for prayers that say, these are my disadvantages. These are the things that I struggle with. These are the things I need help with specifically because I'm having a difficult time with it. Whatever it may be. And what the universe can grant you is understanding on your journey, understanding that you will have periods of relapse. Relapses will be more common in the beginning. They will be less frequent as time goes on. And you have to handle relapses with the same energy that you handle any kind of addiction. You have to get out of devil energy. You will realize that prayer is stronger than magic. That happens to you in your ascension process as you realize that it is prayer that defeated your magic. Prayers are heard, and you must address your demons like you address physical enemies with the same laser focus, the same decisive action that you faced everything else. Focus and get back up and find another way. Take hold of yourself. Your mind tells you what is right. When you're dealing with energies like Baal, that is his worst fear, is that you find out that you are his king and not the other way around. That he should be bowing to you and not the other way around. When you deal with energies like that, that is their worst fear, that you find out who you are. And they know they've already lost, and they know that people find out who they are. And when someone finds out who they are and they meet their higher self, it's done. Because their higher self comes here ready to wage war with these energies that feel that they have a stronghold in your life. They're not going to let go. You're not going to decide your way out of this. They're going to war for you until they bring you home. These energies do not face Father at all. These energies allow people to do all the work, because what they do is they work through people. They work through people's lower natures. Let's see if I have any more notes here. So this is the confidence that comes from alchemy. This is the confidence that comes from surrendering to your higher self. I want to read about what Wikipedia has to say about Set. Now, I did not have enough time to research. I just Googled something really quickly before I came. Set in the Abrahamic religions was the third son of Adam and Eve. According to the Hebrew Bible, he had two brothers, Cain and Abel. According to Genesis 4:25, Set was born after Abel's murder by Cain, and Eve believed that God had appointed him as a replacement for Abel. Set was born after Abel's murder by Cain, and Eve believed that God had appointed him as a replacement for Abel. Abel was the good brother, Cain was the bad brother. Let's see what else it says here. There's another, I'm gonna read about Set. Set is the representation of an Egyptian god. Seth or Set, ancient Egyptian god and patron of the 11th nome or province of Upper Egypt. A trickster, he was a sky god, lord of the desert, and master of storms, disorder, and warfare. He was the brother of Osiris, whom he killed, and he was antagonistic to Horus, the child of Osiris's sister, Isis. Some of these things, I have to be careful where I get, oh God, this is strong. I have to be careful of where I get things from in here. But anyway, readings from in here. This is what Set looks like. He, like the other Egyptian gods, had the Ankh in his hand. And I don't know what this head is, but we'll find out. So Set is a god of deserts, storms, disorder, violence, and foreigners in ancient Egyptian religion. In ancient Greek, the god's name is given as Set. Set has a positive role where he accompanies Ra on his bark to rebel Apep, or Apophis, the serpent of chaos. Set had a vital role as a reconciled combatant. Reconciled combatant. Set had a vital role as a reconciled combatant. He was lord of the Red Land, which is the desert, where he was the balance to Horus's role as lord of the Black Land, which is the fertile land. In the Osiris myth, the most important Egyptian myth, Set is portrayed as the usurper who murdered and mutilated his own brother Osiris. Osiris's sister wife, Isis, reassembled his corpse and resurrected her dead brother husband with the help of the goddess Nephthys. Nephthys also is Set's wife. The resurrection lasted long enough to conceive his son and heir, Horus. Horus sought revenge upon Set, and many of the ancient Egyptian myths describe their conflicts. So let's read about family. Set is the god of Geb, the earth, and Nut, the sky. Also represented sky god Ra, earth, universe, mother. His siblings are Osiris, Isis, and Nephthys. He married Nephthys and fathered Anubis and Wepwawet. In some accounts, he had relationships with the foreign goddesses Anat and Asart. With these relationships is said to be born a crocodile deity called Maga. The meaning of the name Set is unknown, but it is thought to have been originally produced based on spellings of his name in Egyptian hieroglyphics. The late Egyptian spelling reflects the palatization of, while the eventual loss of the final consonant is recorded in spellings. Okay, I don't know if we need that. Set is usually depicted as an enigmatic creature referred to Egyptologists as the Set animal, a beast not identified with any known animal, although it could be seen as resembling an African wild dog, a donkey, a hyena, a jackal, a pig, an antelope, a giraffe, or a fennec fox. The animal has a downward curving snout, long ears with squared off ends, a thin forked tail with sprouted fur tufts in an inverted arrow shape, and a slender canine body. Sometimes Set is depicted as a human with a distinctive head. Some early Egyptologists proposed that it was a stylized representation of the giraffe, owing to the large flat-topped horns which corresponded to a giraffe's ossicones. The Egyptians themselves, however, used distinct depictions of it for the giraffe and the Set animal. During the late period, Set is usually depicted as a donkey or as a man with the head of a donkey. And in the book of Fayem, Set is depicted with a flamingo head. The earliest representations of what might be the Set animals come from a tomb dating to the Amratian culture of prehistoric Egypt, although this identification is uncertain. If these are ruled out, then the earliest Set animal appears on a ceremonial mace head of Scorpion II, the ruler of the Naquata III phase. The head and the forked tail of the Set animal are clearly present on the mace. Conflict of Horus and Set. An important element of Set's mythology was his conflict with his brother or nephew Horus for the throne of Egypt. The contest between them is often violent, but is also described as a legal judgment before the Enid, an assembled group of Egyptian deities to decide who should inherit the kingship. I want to pause right there. Deities are known to fight all the time. Actually, to me, that's all they do is they fight. Fighting is not supposed to make one just permanently bitter and hateful. And there was a download that I got, and I think I positive I did a video about it, where we talk about going through your gang stalking journey or your gang stalking ascension, and it feels like Hunger Games where the ancestors are present and they see. Why do I say that? Because you're fighting and you're like looking at your spirit guides like, hello, get me out of here. What am I doing here? And they allow everything. They allow every blow. They allow blows to hit you. They allow blows both ways. And they want to see how you handle it. They need you to awaken. They need your attention. They need you to know who you are by what you can survive. It is not necessary to hold on to bitterness because of this. It must be released to step into your power, into who you are. It's not necessary to hold on to it as if it is the permanent place to stay. You must step out of fight mode. The contest between them is often violent, but is also described as a legal judgment before the Enid as assembled group of Egyptian deities to decide who should inherit the kingship. The judge in this trial may be Geb, who, as the father of Osiris and Set, held the throne before they did, or it may be the creator of gods, Ra, or Atum, the originators of kingship. Other deities also take important roles. Thoth frequently acts as a conciliator in the dispute, or as an assistant to the divine judge. And in contendings, Isis uses her cunning and magical power to aid her son. The rivalry of Horus and Set is portrayed in two contrasting ways. Both perspectives appear as early as the pyramid text, the earliest source of the myth. In some spells of this text, Horus is the son of Osiris and the nephew of Set, and the murder of Osiris is the major impetus for the conflict. The other tradition depicts Horus and Set as brothers. This incongruity persists in many of the subsequent sources where the two gods may be called brothers or uncle and nephew at different points in the same text. And that is because gods give birth to themselves, or gods, okay, so human psychology says that men look for wives that remind them of either a mother or a mother figure, because that is where they feel safe. When you're a god, I don't mean it, just follow along anyway. If you are a god, think about a god in a traditional sense. There is no safety. If you are king, there is no safety. Oftentimes, the only people that you can truly trust may not be a wife, may not be anybody else but your mother, because your mother cannot take your position as king, and a mother is a mother. So the only it's said that men look for women who remind them either of a mother they had, a mother they didn't have, mother energy. That's what men look for, is a nurturing mother energy, not just to replicate themselves in the children that they create, but also to have a mother for themselves, somewhere they feel safe, something that they can trust. So the story goes that Ra came back with his mother and found that this was the only fit energy to birth himself. That is why Horus is both the brother and the nephew, is because it's how Osiris basically tries to come back. It's not tries to, but reincarnates through his son to defend himself, becomes both the ruler of the underworld, but also still taking his rightful place as king through the birth of his son, which is basically he reincarnates himself in his son. Or Isis reincarnates her husband through her son. However you take it. I don't know if people take this stuff literally or not. But it can be. I mean, I feel like it can be taken literally. The divine struggle involves many episodes. Contendings describes the two gods appealing to various other deities to arbitrate the dispute and competing in different types of contests, such as racing in boats or fighting each other in the form of, bear with me, hippopotamy to determine a victor. I don't know what that is. If I had time, I would look it up, but I want to stay on task. In this account, Horus repeatedly defeats Set and is supported by most of the other deities, yet the dispute drags on for 80 years, largely because of the judge, the creator god, favors Set. In late ritual texts, the conflict is characterized as a great battle involving the two deities' assembled followers. The strife in the divine realm extends beyond the two combatants. At one point, Isis attempts to harpoon Set as he is locked in combat with her son, but she strikes Horus instead, who then cuts off her head in a fit of rage. Thoth replaces Isis's head with that of a cow. The story gives a mythical origin of the cow horn headdress that Isis commonly wears. In a key episode in the conflict, Set sexually abuses Horus. Set's violation is partly meant to degrade his rival, but it also involves homosexual desire, in keeping with one of Set's major characteristics, his forceful, potent, and indiscriminate sexuality. In the earliest account of this episode, in a fragmentary Middle Kingdom papyrus, the sexual encounter begins when Set asks to have sex with Horus, who agrees on the condition that Set will give Horus some of his strength. The encounter puts Horus in danger because in Egyptian tradition, semen is a potent and dangerous substance akin to poison. According to some texts, Set's semen enters Horus's body and makes him ill, but in contendings, Horus thwarts Seth by catching Set's semen in his hands. Isis retaliates by putting Horus's semen on lettuce leaves that Set eats. Set's defeat becomes apparent when his semen appears on his forehead as a golden disc. He has been impregnated with his rival's seed, and as a result gives birth to the disc. In contendings, Thoth takes the disc and places it on his own head. In earlier accounts, it is Thoth who is produced by this anomalous, am I saying that's right? Anomalous birth. Another important episode concerns mutilations that the combatants inflict upon each other. Horus injures or steals Set's testicles, and Set damages or tears out one or occasionally both of Horus's eyes. Sometimes the eye is torn out into pieces. Set's mutilation signifies a loss of virility and strength. The removal of Horus's eye is even more important, for this stolen eye of Horus represents a wide variety of concepts in Egyptian religion. One of Horus's major roles is as a sky deity, and for this reason his right eye was said to be the sun and his left eye the moon. The theft and destruction of the eye of Horus is therefore equated with the darkening of the moon in the course of its cycle of phases, or during eclipses. I'm going to read that again. The theft or destruction of the eye of Horus is therefore equated with the darkening of the moon in the course of its cycle or of phases, or during eclipses. Horus may take back his lost eye, or other deities, including Isis, Thoth, and Hathor, may retrieve it or heal it for him. Egyptologist Herman Tevelde argues that the tradition about the lost testicles is a late variation on Set's loss of semen to Horus, and that the moon-like disc that emerges from Set's head after his impregnation is the eye of Horus. If so, the episodes of mutilation or sexual abuse would form a single story in which Set assaults Horus and loses semen to him. Horus retaliates and impregnates Set, and Set comes into possession of Horus's eye when it appears on Set's head. Because Thoth is a moon deity in addition to his other functions, it would make sense, according to Tevelde, for Thoth to emerge in the form of the eye and step in to mediate between the feuding deities. In any case, the restoration of the eye of Horus to wholeness represents the return of the moon to full brightness, the return of the kingship to Horus, and many other aspects of Ma'at. Ma'at meaning justice. Sometimes the restoration of Horus's eye is accompanied by the restoration of Set's testicles, so that both gods are made whole near the conclusion of their feud. The protection of Ra. Set was depicted standing on the prow of Ra's barge, defeating the dark serpent Apep. In some late period representations, such as in the Persian period temple of Hebes, Set was represented in his role as a falcon's head, taking on the guise of Horus. In the Amduat, Set is described as having a key role in overcoming Apep. The demonization of Set. According to an Egyptologist, the demonization of Set took place after Egypt's conquest by several foreign nations to the third intermediate and late periods. Set, who had traditionally been the god of foreigners, thus also became associated with foreign oppressors, including the Kushite and Persian empires. It was during this time that Set was particularly vilified and his defeat by Horus widely celebrated. Set's negative aspects were emphasized during this period. Set was the killer of Osiris, having hacked Osiris's body into pieces and dispersed it so he could not be resurrected. The Greeks would later associate Set with Typhon and Yahweh, a monstrous and evil force of raging nature, being the three of them depicted as donkey-like creatures, classifying their worshippers as onolatrous. Set and Typhon also made in common that both were sons of deities representing the earth, Gaia and Geb, who attacked the principal deities, Osiris for Set and Zeus for Typhon. Nevertheless, throughout this period, in some outlying regions of Egypt, Set was still regarded as the heroic chief deity. Ancient Egyptologist Dr. Kara Cooney shot an episode called The Birth of the Devil in the Out of Egypt documentary series. In this documentary, the scientist describes the process of demonization of Set and the positioning of it as absolute evil on the opposite side, in parallel with the transition to monotheism in different religions from Rome to India, where God began to be perceived as the representation of absolute goodness. So this is just, I'm gonna probably read about Osiris, Horus, and whatever else after the fact. However, the period of reconciliation is here because, as you see, you waste a lot of time fighting. You waste a lot of time fighting yourself. Oh wait, we have some pictures of Set. Hold on. Let's go ahead and show these. Oh, let's see. This is what Set looks like. These are the depictions of Set as almost like a dog-like figure. So that is what I want to read today, or what I wanted to talk about today. We are all here on a battle to master ourselves, to master our highest selves. It is a constant tug of war in the beginning. It gets easier as time goes on. We have to choose to align with our higher selves and to align with energy that works in our favor. So this is the message I have today. Thank you. Have a great day and happy Raw Day.